everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Play, Pause, Rewind, our 107th episode. It's going to be a good one. Been a busy couple weeks. Work and life is a lot. But Niles, how have you been the last few weeks since our previous episode?
Oh, just dandy. It's been
Mm.
like Dylan said, it's been a whirlwind. I'm sure for everyone else listening in, I'm sure it's been a whirlwind for you too, between the news and everything going on in your personal life. But you got to focus on the good and the things that you can control. And I'm proud to say that I can control some things. Like I know how to cut down trees. I can do that. I can control which way a tree falls. A few weekends back, I was helping my dad cut down a lot of trees on our land. So that's a small win. I will take that one. But
Yeah.
it's been busy. There's been lots going on. Obviously, how have you been doing?
Pretty good. Pretty busy overall. I painted a wall in my apartment, though.
Wow.
And it looks awesome, so I'm happy about that. And yeah, I looked back at what I've seen the last month, and I realized until this movie, I hadn't been to the movies in a little while. That made me sad, but we've got a lot of good stuff coming up in the summer. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be a really great summer for movies.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about the news today. We'll do that
Yeah,
next time.
we don't need to. This is a fun podcast where we talk about things that we like. This is where Dylan and Niles get together, and we just talk about fun movies and TV shows. And today we went to the movies and we saw a great movie.
Sinners.
We saw Sinners. This
Yeah.
is going to be a lot of fun to talk about. I'm looking forward to it.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. So, written and directed by Ryan Coogler, Sinners follows twin brothers Smoke and Stack, the Smokestack twins, after they return to their hometown in 1930s Mississippi and set up a juke joint to bring their community together, only to be beset by racists and vampires. The film stars Michael B. Jordan, Hailee Steinfeld, Miles Catton, Wunmi Masaku, Jack O'Connell, and many, many more. We'll do a couple minutes of no spoilers, and then we will hop into spoilers after that. Niles, what are your initial thoughts on Sinners?
this may be one of those few times on this show where I started writing the show notes, and the first line that I wrote was like, "I have no notes," because this movie is wonderful. This movie's it's you probably if you've been in the loop on pop culture, you've probably been hearing about this movie for a little bit. If you're tuning into this podcast today, you've probably
Mhm.
heard about Sinners, and I assure you, the hype around Sinners is real. The reasoning for that hype is very real. Like this movie, is kind of like we're only 4 months into 2025, Dylan, and already I'm like, this is the movie that I want to win like Best Picture next year. Like this is my movie of the year. This movie's so good. It's an incredible journey that it's not perfect. I'm not saying this is a perfect movie, but it's really, really close. Like it gets really close there because like I think everything in this movie is just great. Like the
Mhm.
performances are really fun. Even the twins, Michael B. Jordan, playing two different characters. And we actually just talked about a movie where an actor was playing multiple versions of
Yeah.
a very similar character, Mickey 17.
Mhm.
But this is not like that movie at all. This is very different. But yeah, the performances are great. The visuals in this movie are breathtaking. The storytelling is excellent. The music is so good in this movie. This is like such a work of art, Dylan.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, it's truly fantastic. And like you alluded to, I guess like there are things you could criticize about the movie, I suppose, but I think the mark of a good movie, like a really good movie, is that you see those things and you're like, the fuck is the point of even mentioning them? Like it's just
Yeah.
it makes you like watching it makes you feel the way movies are supposed to make you feel. This is it is a visually rich experience. Performances are great across the board. The film is just expertly crafted by Ryan Coogler. The music especially stands out and in a lot of ways is the soul of the movie. Kudos to composer Ludwig Göransson, who did amazing work here.
Yes.
He worked on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever as well,
Right.
Fruitvale Station, I believe, also, and then Oppenheimer recently.
Oh, that's where I've seen his
He,
name. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, he scored Oppenheimer and Tenet as well. So he's worked with Nolan a little bit. But yeah, it's fucking fantastic. And obviously, Ryan Coogler talked about how he really wanted to make, like, he felt like he was getting to a point where he's getting a little bit older, and the audience doesn't know him as a filmmaker as much, I think is what he was saying. And he really wanted to take an opportunity to tell a story that was like, this is who I am as a filmmaker, this as a creator, this is like my work. And I think if this is what that is, more of that, please. I know he's got to do one more Black Panther movie, but I kind of hope he goes in a direction of making more original projects as well after this. I can't recommend it enough. I would advise, though, if you've made it this far and you haven't seen the movie yet and you somehow have avoided the marketing, skip the trailers. There are a few things in the trailers that I think they should not have revealed. It would have been nicer to feel those moments in the movie. I talk about that a lot, but I think there are two things we'll talk about in spoilers specifically for this one.
Yeah.
Also, don't leave right away. There's a mid-credit scene. There's also apparently a post-credit scene, which we missed, but the mid-credit scene is essential to the story of the film.
Yes. Yeah. That's like
Yeah.
the ending right there. That you think you saw how the movie ended. You didn't. You need to keep watching because it goes on for a little bit, and it's a fantastic ending. And yeah, I feel like we talked about this in the past too with the trailers. Like, man, the trailers just spoil everything these days. You can't get you can't market a movie without spoiling half the movie, I guess. Which, again, like you were saying, this movie, even if there's things to complain about, because I do have like some issues with it, like the twin angle. Honestly, I feel like that could have been two different actors. We'll get into that later. But yeah, this movie, you overlook all of that because the storytelling's so good. It's so rich. It's so original. It's like this love letter in a way to like blues music and just like music in general. But then it's also like got so much originality in there that's like, no, we actually have some very unique stories that we want to tell. We want to show you some interesting characters. And this movie, it really did surprise me too, because like I just based on what I knew going into this, I just thought this is going to be a movie about vampiric Klansmen assaulting a small town of African American sharecroppers. Like that's all I thought it was going to be, and it does not go that direction. It is not leaning into that angle, and I'm so glad. It's like it is its own thing. Like yes, there's still vampires. Yes, there are still Klansmen, but it's not going down the way that you imagine it's going to.
Yeah. And like due to the setting and the things you just said, obviously there's a lot of elements of race in this film's story and Black culture. I mean, look at our fucking faces. We're gonna do the best we can to to that, but we are not the authorities on that experience, and you should go elsewhere for good analysis when it comes specifically to that.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. We will do our best with what we got and our knowledge. But yeah, this movie is just fantastic. I'm saying boat, Dylan. Cannot recommend Sinners enough.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we hop into spoilers?
No, let's get into it. I want to talk about this movie.
All right, let's do it.
Because yeah, I think to kick it off, this movie to me feels like a merging of genres in multiple ways. The first half, it really feels like just this own story on its own. Like it's one about personal retribution, self-discovery. These twin brothers come back to the town after like stealing some money to start their own business and kind of reconnect with the community in Jim Crow era Deep South. It kind of reminded me of like a story that I read a while back called Mudbound. And I know that they made a movie about that, but very different story, but it was kind of set in that similar time period, and just race is so much more prevalent in that book than this is, but it's still here in this
Mm-hmm.
movie. And but yeah, just the grittiness of it, just the deep south in general is just like such an evocative like setting and environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, halfway through the movie, it shifts gears abruptly, and all of a sudden we have a vampire survival story. Like
Yeah.
it's so it's like merging this like drama period piece with just like vampire survival story,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's just brilliant. It's so fun.
Yeah, I love that it takes its time building up to the vampire stuff, because all of that stuff going on at the beginning, it's strong enough to where the movie kind of could have just been that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Smokestack twins, it's kind of said that they fought in the war. I'm assuming World War One, and then they someone says they were working for Capone up in Chicago, so
Right.
they went from fighting in the war to going into like the gangster business under Al Capone, and then they come down and mysteriously have all this money,
Mm-hmm.
and you find out like, oh, it's because you made the Italians think the French stole everything, you made the French think the Italians stole everything, and you got away with all of it. And it's like that in and of itself is the setup for like, oh, the French and the Italians are gonna figure out what the fuck happened, and they're gonna come down here, and
Yeah.
that could be a conflict of the movie right there. But no, instead it just shifts gears
Mm-hmm.
into the vampire survival thing, and it's great. And it just there's so much confidence in doing that, like because a lot of genre films, they would kind of get to the genre stuff right away. They wouldn't put that much effort into this side of things. But this is just like, no, this is going to be good enough to where it could stand on its own, but it
Yeah.
doesn't need to, because we have vampires coming.
Well, yeah, you're totally right. This could have been its own movie. I was totally bought, totally sold. I'm like, I'm just interested to see what happens to these characters, and yeah, what happens
Mhm.
next. But then, yeah, all of a sudden, this very spooky, very scary element gets introduced to the story, and then people start getting picked off one at a time, just kind of
Mhm.
classic vampire or zombie survival story. And it's just so wonderful how he's able to mesh these genres together here. And it's such a great abrupt change. And then, more than just the visuals and the storytelling, this movie, I feel like, is a beautiful blend of multiple musical genres throughout.
Mhm.
Like, obviously, blues is like the heart and soul of this movie. But then all of a sudden, give it a minute, it'll transition to this haunting Irish jig number. And they're all dancing
Mhm.
around outside to this, doing Irish step dancing. And then
Yep.
the next, it's like rock and roll all of a sudden. Like,
Mhm.
it does such a good job of blending everything together. It's such an amazing
Oh,
auditory
I've lost your
experience.
audio.
Oh, can you hear me still? You there?
I can hear you now. Yep. Just
Okay.
lost you for a second. Yes.
Okay. I think we're okay. But yeah, I think it's such
All
an
right.
amazing auditory experience.
hmm Funny that we have an audio issue when you're talking about that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's the last one.
Yeah. Hopefully. But yeah, before we jump into music, more generally, I do want to say just like I love the little tiny bits of world building we get sprinkled in here too, because it's just at the start when the main villain is introduced, he's being pursued by a group of Native American vampire hunters, and it's
Mhm.
just like they're introduced, they're part of the universe of this world, and then they are not part of the plot after that. But it's just like it's just Ryan Coogler dropping in. It's like, yeah, in this universe, there are groups of Native Americans who hunt down vampires, and I'm just gonna leave that here for you, and we're gonna move on.
It's really cool. I like it a lot. It's such a neat little element in there, and I would watch a whole series of just Native American supernatural experts, just like
Mm-hmm.
hunting for skinwalkers or vampires or doing like UFO reconnaissance, like that shit. There's a whole like unsolved mysteries episode that we watched where it is just like on the Navajo Nation, I think.
Okay.
Because they're in like their own nation. They just were getting so many reports that they're just like, fuck it. Let's just devote some of our manpower to investigating these reports. So like that was a fascinating episode of television. So I would watch more of this.
Yeah. But back to music, because it's an incredibly important part of this movie. We should just talk about music's role in it, the power of music, and in this supernatural power of music. So you want to jump into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. That because the music was one of my favorite parts of the movie, like how they merged all these generational types of music together. You have blues in here, you have country, you have hip hop, you have rock, you have Irish music. There's so much going on, and there's so much great music in this movie. I'm going to say that a million times, and it all feels so appropriate for the time period and the story itself.
Yep.
One of my favorite scenes in the entire movie was that Boogie in the Barn sequence. And Sammy, the preacher boy, he's got this like transcendent ability with his music where he's able to kind of blur the line between living and dead. And it also kind of feels like time and space to a certain degree. But he's got like this phenomenal power. And that's kind of the crux of this movie is he's the one who attracts the vampires to the juke joint. But he's playing the blues. People are dancing like crazy. And the camera pans over the audience. It does this cool, like kind of one-shot sequence. And you see all the other music men who are very similar to Sammy start to populate the room. Like you have some of these players from Africa and Asia, you know, these performers. And then you also have like future rap and hip hop performers. You have like a future black rock star jamming out on his guitar. Like it's such a cool sequence. Sorry, there's shit going by outside. That's not happening to you, viewer. That is the street outside of my home right now.
No worries. It's not coming through the mic, so you're good.
Okay, great. But yeah, like I think it's just all that music stuff is so cool how they blended in there. It's like this love letter to the blues genre. And it also kind of serves as this history lesson too, because like nearly all modern forms of American music, whether it's country, rock, hip hop, what have you, you can trace like the lineage of all those forms of modern music back to like blues, back to the African American community that was stolen and transported to America and forced to do labor for decades. And their music, their soul is like so foundational to all the music we love today. Like they originated blues, and then blues gave way to jazz, which is America's original classical music, and then big band music, and then rock and roll came, and so much more. Like there's so many things that could not have existed without blues. And so I feel like Cinders is kind of providing this small little history lesson to audiences about the evolution of American music and the profound impact.
Yeah. I mean, American culture in general, because like so much of American culture is just black culture that has been appropriated and, you know, sort of repackaged for the masses as well. But music especially, you're right. Like the blues is the root of so much musical language.
Absolutely. And yeah, these communities have contributed so much to the evolution of music. They've helped create, they've helped inspire, and it is just so nice to see that coming to fruition on screen. And because I feel like that there's probably a lot of people in America who don't realize just like how rock music came to be, or like kind of all these other things about like blues, like where did it come from? Like, so I feel like this was just kind of like a small little glimpse into that evolution, and maybe it'll inspire more people to learn more about that stuff. But I thought it was so neat.
Yeah. Well, another element of history lesson the movie puts in there is that there's still black people working cotton fields and for plantation money. Like, if you don't know about the Reconstruction period and everything post-Civil War that led up into the early 20th century, you might be like, wait, why are they still working on plantations, still picking cotton? It's like, well, yeah, because the Southern white people like didn't fucking want to lose their slaves, so they did a whole lot of shit to make sure that they could still essentially have slave labor for these low prices. So they were like doing labor for plantation money, which
Yep.
you know kept them trapped in these areas, and that was very deliberate and gross. But back to music, I think the idea of music sort of piercing the veil between life and death and transporting you through time and space, I think there is a sort of truth at the heart of that, with it, like in real life, even like with really good music, because when you're listening to a song that really resonates with you, that's good enough, you're almost transported to a totally different place, to the point where the sound of the music itself is like not what you're hearing so much anymore, but it is like a doorway to a new location or a new emotional state that maybe you've never even felt before. And that can connect you with people across time, like metaphorically, obviously, but it sort of bridges, like in a way that not all art forms can. It's like an intensely emotional connection that's very raw. And I think this the way this film portrays music kind of taps into that a little bit and just expands the idea into like actually drawing things in from other areas.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah, this kind of metaphysical way of bringing it all together. And you're so right, because like, you know, I can still listen to like a Pink Floyd album today that was recorded 50 years ago, and I still get an emotional reaction from it. I'm still like, I wish I was there in the recording studio with these guys so I could have experienced this moment with them. But like, it just resonates with me, and I'm sure everyone listening has a song like that or an album that's just like it transports you almost to a different time, or like it makes you nostalgic for something that you never experienced, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, or it just like paints the sound, like paints a picture of a place, and you feel like you're in that place walking around rather than driving in your car, you know, listening to the song. It's really it captures that feeling, and then it's just like, yeah, but what if it attracted vampires?
What if vampires also wanted to play music?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's music is so essential to this movie. It's so awesome. And I'm sure there's things that we're even missing right now too, because like I want to rewatch this movie like at least 2 more times, and I feel like I'm gonna find new things about the music, new things about like the story that I didn't pick up on the first time. It just feels like it's got some of those little nuances hidden away.
Yep, I totally agree. I do want to talk about the villain a little bit. Remick. He's the main vampire in the movie. One thing I think is interesting too at the beginning, it's like we don't get any real backstory to him. We don't even know where he comes from. He literally just falls into frame at the beginning. And if you're thinking about it, like part of you's like, how did he fucking get here? Like his skin's all burned and stuff, but the sun is still up.
Yeah.
And where did he come from? What did he jump off of? Doesn't matter. He's just here now. But I think what's very interesting is that he's Irish, and Remick makes when he approaches our main entourage at the juke joint. He comes in with his instrument. Obviously, he wants to be invited in. But he makes a pitch to them, basically. Eventually, when it's revealed what's going on, he's like, there are a lot of benefits to being a vampire. Like, you all are black, and those Klansmen are going to come fucking kill you. But if you become an immortal vampire, they can't really do that anymore. And like, the film leaves a lot of this ambiguous, but I think him being Irish, it makes me think that he at least feels he's being genuine in this offer and this sales pitch, right? Because Another history thing is the Irish have a history of being extremely oppressed as well by the
Mm-hmm.
British. And he's approaching the Smokestack twins and all of their friends and family from the perspective of also having experienced systemic injustice and wanting to take back some control of his life. That being said, he also seems to hold some amount of control over everyone who is in his thrall. So, how much freedom is he really offering?
Yeah.
But I really enjoy that the film leaves this ambiguous, right? Like, because what he told them about the Klansmen, they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to let you have this. They're going to come here in the morning and they're going to shoot you all. That happens.
Mm-hmm.
He also Remick also becomes like more and more aggressive and violent as the night goes on, and he's not really getting what he wants. He threatens to kill the Asian couple's daughter if they don't cooperate. So it's like he's he's the antagonist, he's a villain, and he does bad things, but you also see where he's coming from, and he makes a really valid point. It's similar to Michael B. Jordan's character in Black Panther, right? Like he's doing bad things, but at the end of the day, his argument was pretty fucking correct in that movie.
Yeah. Well, and he is very correct, because I remember he used like a word that was like fraternity, like
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't necessarily equality, but like fraternity. Here you like, it doesn't matter if you're white or black when you were alive. You're a vampire now. We're all dead
Mm-hmm.
together. So we're just kind of this collective community, and like you kind
Yeah.
of do have some fraternal nature there of like, yeah, it doesn't really matter who we were when we were alive. Now we're all kind of the same. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's kind of a blanket thing that's applied to everybody, and I can understand where he's coming from. But yeah, at the end of the day, he's a vampire. So you can't really trust him entirely, but he did. He wasn't wrong in that aspect.
Yeah. But I think and touching on like who's a vampire and who isn't, the things that I really wish the trailers hadn't shown us was that both Stack and Mary, one of the Michael B. Jordan twins and Hailee Steinfeld's characters, both get turned into vampires. And um, I wish I didn't know about that ahead of time, because especially if I don't know, I kind of wish we didn't know vampires were in the fucking movie at all. Actually, because think about when Mary like gets kind of fucking freaked out by them because her eyes go red.
Yeah.
Imagine that being the first indication that there was a supernatural element to this story, and then
Ooh.
when she's walking away and in the background blurry, you see Remick like float up after her. It's like, I understand. We work in marketing. We get it. But like, imagine seeing that moment, having no idea that that was part of this movie. How cool that would have been.
It would have been breathtaking.
And her getting turned is so. I think it knowing about it ahead of time hurt that moment a little bit, because it's when she goes out there, what's gonna happen,
Oh yeah.
because you've seen her get turned and you're like, oh, okay, they can't get in because they need to be invited, and she's going out there, she's gonna get bit, and then they're gonna let her in, and then that's how everything's gonna happen. I understand, but it's so sad when you realize she's gonna get bit, because she's just trying to be helpful and smooth things over, and she just gets put in a bad fucking situation.
Yeah. Right. No, she kind of gets the short end of the stick there. Um, and I agree. I kind of wish that it was. They could have hinted at sinister elements in the
Mm-hmm.
marketing, maybe tried to gloss over the vampire stuff, but
Yeah,
at the end of the day, vampires sell. People are obsessed with
exactly.
vampirism. Like, dude, we were literally talking about Nosferatu like the 7 episodes ago or something like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's,
Yeah.
it's just part of our culture. People are just fascinated with those stories, and I'll admit I like them too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I think I still would have gone to go see this movie even if I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have that knowledge already.
Yeah. I mean, and it's tough too because like if you like let's say they marketed it fully as just a period piece with the Michael B. Jordan twins doing their thing, like then you would get people into the theater who really wanted to see that and then probably get annoyed when it becomes this. So
Sure,
you can
yeah.
be filmed by doing stuff like that too. I'm not an idiot. I understand why the movie was marketed
Yeah.
the way it was, but it's just it had to be done. But I wish we could have gotten that like what the fuck moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean that sequence where she's walking back in and then the guy, yeah,
Hmm.
literally what you're talking about, the guy just starts to float and we see him get
Yeah.
maybe like 3 feet off the ground and then it cuts. It's like,
Hmm.
like if we saw that in the movie theater, no context before then, oh my god, chills.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. One thing also that was feels like it was just in there for the trailer because it doesn't really make sense with her character and the emotional state of like everybody in the sequence. But like when she's all bloody after she's bit Stack and she's like, "We're gonna kill every last one of you." Like that's out of I like it makes it seem like she's less her than she appears to be in the rest of the movie. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like that doesn't feel like a line that character would say or an attitude that character would have about what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah, that
whatever.
part's a little weird. Well, I mean, the vampire stuff, like, it does get a little confusing at moments. Like,
Hmm.
Remek's character, his whole reason why he was attracted to Sammy was because of the lore surrounding these
Yeah.
music men. Like, he wanted, like, correct me if I'm wrong, how I'm understanding it was that his intention with Sammy was to turn him into a vampire and then use the power of his music to bring back some of his dead friends to the world, right?
I thought it was more to like spread the influence and grow their numbers. Like Sammy's
Oh,
music would bring people together, and then they could grow their
yeah, I could see that.
whatever a vampire tribe is called. I forget.
Uh,
Whatever.
uh,
They could grow their little group. They could grow their vampire community and like grow to a size where they couldn't be threatened anymore.
I
I think
see.
that's what he.
Yeah, that makes a little
Um.
bit more sense because, like, I was interpreting it as he was trying to bring back friends from the dead, bring them
Mm,
back into the world. So I was unclear how that was going to work. And then,
yeah.
I mean, they were all still dancing and doing their Irish jig and singing together. But, like,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that I was a little unclear on, too, was, like, would Sammy lose his magical ability to bridge the worlds between
Mm.
living and dead if he was turned into a vampire? Like,
Huh.
I feel like you'd need to be alive for that. But then like they're all the vampires are still singing and dancing and having fun. So and they were playing musical instruments. So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and then the other thing too is I guess because they all when they get bit, they all start to share memories, right?
Yes.
And they he can speak um other languages and stuff, but it seems like his amount of control over their autonomy maybe varies. Maybe he has to focus on them more to control them. Because the first two people he turns are the son and daughter. Are they no? They're a couple, but they're related to the guy who sells the smokestack twins the flour mill
Hmm.
because they're both in the clan. And then so I think it's interesting. One, the first two people he turned were clan members who were going to kill the smokestack twins the next morning, which is interesting.
Hmm.
If he knew that ahead of time, but then he kind of like just puts them in his camp and doesn't let them do their clan shit anymore after that. They just kind of become his little acolytes, which
Yeah.
is funny.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I feel like yeah, like the rules are kind of a little ambiguous here.
mhm.
Um, but speaking of those rules, do you want to briefly talk about Christianity? Because I want to briefly talk about some things with it. Um,
Yeah, go for it.
because
7.
there's a bit here towards the end where Remick he's about to kill Sammy. He's ready to do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
Sammy's defenseless, and he starts to um, recite a prayer for his soul,
Yeah.
like this Christian prayer, and then Remick starts to recite it too. And then
Mm-hmm.
all the other vampires start to say it too, kind of that hive mind mentality going on. And then he says something along the lines of like, "That prayer used to give me comfort too, boy."
Mm-hmm.
And I am so fascinated by this. I'm so glad they included this stuff, because in most vampire media, Christianity is the antithesis to vampires. You know, you always see the crosses,
Yeah.
like it burns them when they see the cross, or the prayers or whatever. Like
holy water, which
Holy
is
water.
included in this
Yes.
as a way they could fight them.
But that one I totally believe. Like that one is so good. It's like you have to keep that one in, because you can just anyone can bless water, I would say. You know, but like, you know, some of those other things, like the Christianity elements, are not really in this movie, and they don't really have any power over these monsters. And I think that's so cool that for once we're seeing some vampire media where, yes, some things are true, like the garlic, the holy water, you have to be invited in to come into the house. Like all these rules are true, except for this one thing about Christianity. And it's just so great, because like I feel like that whenever it's been shoehorned into vampire media, it's kind of a way to just have that religion pop in and just say, hey, I'm the answer to everything. Hey, look at me. I'm here to help. Like, come on. I'm a good religion, please.
Yeah, well, that you're right. That element is kind of stripped away here, but it's and yeah, it is interesting that in so many vampire stories, the like classic symbols of Christendom are like always there. Speaking of Christianity, I guess like R.I.P. Pope Francis seemed like a decent guy overall.
For sure.
So,
R.I.P.
Good on him. R.I.P. J.D. Vance killed him. He killed him with bad vibes.
Again, with Vance ruining everything.
I know. He's such a fucking loser. But yeah, look, that's got to follow him forever, right? He converted to Catholicism and was so thoroughly detestable that the Pope died literally hours after being forced to meet him. Like,
oh, that's gonna haunt you to your grave.
Yeah. But about like the rules of vampirism and rules that are used, I think the inclusion, one thing that is often like left out of vampire stories and isn't in this one, is them being unable to cross the threshold without an invitation.
Yeah.
And I think it's so great. The movie gets so much mileage out of this premise.
Yeah.
And it adds amazing tension and a little bit of comedy too. Because like I love is it Cornbread?
Cornbread.
He comes back in and then he's like, "You gonna invite me in?" And they're like, "What?
Why would we need to?"
You walked in here like loads of times earlier today without asking. What's your problem? And then you also have the like level of tension where they try to grab one of the twins' arms when he reaches out for a second, and they have to pull him back in. But then you also like, I mean, we know because of the marketing, but if you didn't know from the marketing, like, and if you're paying close attention, you'll know Mary has been bitten because she asks permission to come back in when she comes back from outside. And the movie doesn't draw a ton of attention to it, but if you know the rules and you're like paying attention, you're like, oh no, she's bitten now.
Oh shit.
But it's but it like gives them a little bit of safety in there too, to work out their plans and come up with something going on. And it gives the movie a chance to have like the quieter moments that you need at that part of the story as well, which is great.
For sure, yeah. And just going back to...
Oh, we lost your audio again.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
No.
Oh, boy. Okay. Let's see.
Okay, you're back.
Back. All right. Cool. All right. We'll keep going. Just let me know if it cuts out again. Well, fun stuff. Here.
New issues every time.
Yeah, exactly. Over 100 episodes in, and we're still learning things. Going back to the Christianity.
Yeah. It's not our fault, guys. It's trust us.
Going back to the Christianity real quick. One other thing that I thought was really neat that they included here was there's a part in the movie where Delta Slim, he's talking to Sammy, and he mentions that it's like, oh, you know, Christianity, that was forced on us, basically. But blues music, that wasn't.
Yeah.
That's always
Mm-hmm.
been our own thing. And I really love that exchange because it's so powerful and it's so true. Like, for so long,
Yeah.
Sammy's father, his community, they had to adopt Christianity to survive in, you know, Jim Crow era deep south, and then it just kind of became their way of
Mm-hmm.
life. This is their, they've been indoctrinated. They're like, we're just following this religion forever. We believe in it so wholeheartedly. But you know, that religion was just kind of used as a means to control these communities.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just yeah, just this sense of control over them. But blues, this music, there was always just like their thing. Like, they always had that in
Mm-hmm.
them. So I just really love that exchange. And I think that goes back to the music thing as well. And one question that I don't know if I have the answer to, but you know, this movie's called Sinners. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we have this relationship in this movie with Christianity directly with Sammy. His father was a pastor, and then they're all in this barn committing sins, you know, hooking up, gambling, drinking, doing all kinds of
Adultery.
sinning behaviors. Yeah, adultery, like all kinds of different things. And so I'm like, I'm not exactly sure why this movie's called Sinners, but I think it has something to do with all that sinning.
You might be onto something. I don't know.
Well, and like I think it also speaks to like what is a sin? Like it's kind of just this construct of just like again another means of
Mm-hmm.
controlling what people do. You can't do that. That's a sin. You know, just kind of controlling
Right.
behaviors. So it's like in this flour
Mm-hmm.
mill, there are no sins. I guess it's kind of what you make it.
Yeah. Well, and also it's just going back to what you were saying about the Christianity sort of being forced on them. Like if Christianity was forced on them as a whole, then the concept of what is and isn't sin under that doctrine was also forced on them.
Mm-hmm.
And another history lesson time, like Christianity being forced on black people across the world, and other parts of the world as well. Like that was a big part of colonization
Mm-hmm.
in the in those early eras, because like the white man's burden, you remember, is like the Europeans convinced themselves that because they knew the truth and they had the relationship with God, they were the good Christian people, that they had to save the souls of all these others
Mm-hmm.
and bring them into the light of Christ, which is a very I'm forgetting the word I need, but it's very it's bullshit. It's
Yeah, that's the word.
yeah, but it's like, and like there's nothing against Christianity or any religion. I have no qualms with religion whatsoever. But unless you're using it to control or diminish someone else's life, then I have a fucking problem with you specifically for doing that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like that. You're right. Like they are not, aside from like, you know, Sammy and the one girl like cheating on her husband when they hooked up. You know, that's not cool. But no one else is doing anything fucking wrong. They're just playing music and drinking and dancing and having a little sex. Like, oh, that's perfectly acceptable to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's all fine.
Yeah. But I think one thing this movie succeeds at as well, and a lot of movies fail at this because
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to do. Because when you have a character who's supposed to be of like just like supreme intelligence or this incredible artist or musician or talented person in any way, it's hard to write a character like that unless you, as the creator, have the talent to back that up
Mm.
and translate that. And a lot of characters in fiction fall short of that, but Sammy doesn't, because when he plays music in this movie, you see why all the characters talk about him the way they do. I think it's
Yeah.
like the music is that good, and you can see why they treat him the way they do, and it's great. It's great to see that trope work.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
really doesn't.
Totally
Um,
agree.
another Another thing that's interesting, and this is going to be something that we don't spend a whole lot of time on because, again, look at us. But Mary, Hailee Steinfeld's character, and the exploration of the struggles of being white passing. And for those of us in our audience who don't know what that means, it means that you are not entirely from white ancestry, but you look white enough to where someone who wouldn't know that would consider you white.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of this character being white passing was really interesting to see because it sort of puts her both within and without two different communities. Like if the white people of the time didn't know her background, she would be able to operate comfortably in that community without the discrimination necessarily and be treated as an equal there. But if they found out, then they would, because racists believe in what's called the one drop rule, where if you are not entirely of white ancestry, then you are not white. So they would treat her differently because of that. But and then on the flip side, the sad part too is that like if the black people around her don't know her background, she's white and she's treated more of an outsider in that community, and you can kind of see that in how everybody who doesn't recognize her immediately flips into like much warmer behavior towards her when they realize who she is, because she I think it's one of her parents in the story was black or one of her grandparents was black, and that's the case for Hailee Steinfeld in real life as well. Apparently this role sort of inspired her to go back and like learn more about her ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
And she made comments about how she wished her grandfather was still alive so he could talk to her about his experiences. But I guess he's passed on. But I just thought that was really interesting that she's like kind of, one foot in two worlds, and without like certain people knowing certain things can never fully operate in either of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's obviously something that you and I don't have any experience in, so we don't know how it feels. But yeah,
Yeah.
like we can listen to other people's perspectives. We can listen to other stories. Like I was just listening to a podcast that my partner was playing where they were interviewing Tayson Day, who was the
Mm-hmm.
guy who did Chocolate Rain on YouTube,
Okay.
and like blew up, got really famous over it. He was one of those first viral videos, but he was talking about
Gotcha.
like growing up, how his dad was white and his mom was black, and so he was like always kind of in this middle ground. It's
Mm-hmm.
like where you're not black enough to hang out with the black kids, and you're not white enough to hang out with the white kids, and those kinds of like things. It's like it's just got to be really difficult to grow up in, to
Mm-hmm.
experience, and try to navigate because you're simultaneously inside of and outside of both circles.
Yeah. And we as a society have not done a good enough job at, you know, removing the barriers of race because we haven't eliminated the systemic problems that cause those disparities.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do that, there will be no moving forward past that sort of thing.
For sure.
But yeah, but it was really interesting to see that dynamic, and then also you had not. I think both Stack and Smoke, in their own ways, were trying to protect her. But I thought it was really interesting that Smoke wanted her to leave the party before anybody outside of their community saw her, because he's like, if one of those white people sees you, like they'll understand what's going on, and I don't want that for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thought that was really interesting. But do you want to talk about the twins a little bit? We haven't really
Yeah,
touched on them
for
much.
sure. Yeah, we've got two great characters, both played by Michael B. Jordan here, Smoke and
Mm-hmm.
Stack. They are interesting together, and their whole backstory, we were talking about it earlier, is just fascinating. I could have watched just a whole movie of just
Mm-hmm.
learning about their escapades, how they got that money, who do they owe, who do they rip off. Like they're really
Mm-hmm.
cool. I think my only issue with this movie in general is because I think that Michael B. Jordan did a great job playing both these characters. I want to get that
Yeah.
point across right at the top. But I honestly think that they could have hired two different actors for these two different roles and just said, "Oh, they're brothers, just the Smokestack brothers." Like,
Yeah.
I personally don't know why they needed to be twins, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think so. The theory I have seen is that the movie initially, and because they've collaborated on projects before, but the original plan was to have it be Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors. But Jonathan Majors is a violent abuser, and so he was removed from the movie. Michael B. Jordan, if you're for some reason listening to this, stop fucking sticking up for him publicly. He's a piece of shit, and you're damaging your own reputation by doing it. Just let him go. That goes for like everyone else in Hollywood who's fucking like elevating him and trying to rehabilitate his image too. It's like, stop. He got fucking arrested for this shit. Like we know he did it.
Exactly. Like he's just not a good dude. From everything we've seen.
Yeah. He's fucking talented. Not a good person. You don't have to give shitty people work just because they're good at their job.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, if that was the case, then I can see how they kind of just said, "Oh, this will be a simple rewrite." And I think that he did a good job playing both of these characters, Michael B. Jordan. But for me personally, there could have been more difference for me between the characters. Okay. At least in the first half, like or the first like third, I will say it was just kind of like, okay, I'm having a little bit of trouble telling which twin is who, and the only way I could really tell them apart for a while was just like, what clothing are they wearing, or like who are the characters that they're interacting with, like. So I don't know, maybe that's just me though.
Yeah, I actually felt like they were two pretty different performances. I felt like Smoke was quieter overall and a little more reserved, more serious maybe. And like when the party is started, he's more concerned about them letting the plantation money be spent, because he's like, we only have so much money. Like, if we establish this now, how are we going to recoup our losses and stuff like that? And then Stack felt more extroverted, smiley, a little bit more showman-like. So I felt there was enough distinction, but where it got confusing for me was when they had to fight at a certain point. It became a little bit. There were parts where it became a little bit harder to tell who's who because it's the same face. They were wearing at that point similar outfits, so I think, I agree. It could have been another actor. I liked Michael B. Jordan as both characters, but it didn't, like with something like Mickey 17 had to both be Pattinson because they're clones. Or other, like, I guess another movie like this is The Parent Trap, where it's Lindsay Lohan and Lindsay Lohan, but they're identical twins, and like a whole part of that movie is that they look the exact same. A great funny part of that movie is that they go for like half an hour at the beginning of it without making the connection that they're probably twins. They look exactly the same.
It's so funny. We watched that movie like 2 years ago, and it's just like, dude, come on. You even looked at each other and gasped. But yeah, I mean, Michael B. Jordan, good job. And honestly, yeah, I can't remember which one it was, but whichever one had like the little baby who died.
That was Smoke.
Smoke. Yeah. That was a pretty strong emotional connection, honestly. Like, he went back to the grave and he's had this relationship with this woman, and like you can tell that they still love each other, but like there's all that trauma from the baby dying that I don't think either of them have really processed or worked through, and that was just kind of a little heartbreaking.
Yeah, and ultimately they both die in their own way. They're reunited with their kid in the afterlife. Right after Smoke goes fucking on the Klansman, which was so satisfying. It's just like the vampire stuff is all kind of wrapped up, but it turns out Remick was being pretty honest, and the guy who sold him the barn rolls up with all of his guys, and then Smoke just wastes them all, which was very satisfying to see.
It's so good.
Um,
I
it's great.
I could watch him shoot up an entire town of Klansmen, and I would be so happy.
Yeah, it was very satisfying. It's very cathartic to see racist, sexist shit like get what's coming to him.
100% happy about that stuff.
Especially in this day and age, we need a little bit of that catharsis.
Yeah, seriously.
But one thing I want to talk about too, kind of to close this out, is the epilogue, because the main story ends. Sammy chooses the guitar over God, leaves his dad behind, and then throughout the credits, we start to see like an older Sammy, played by, I should have looked up his name, but a real blues musician.
Buddy Guy, I think. Let me just
Buddy
confirm.
Guy. Okay. But yeah, the movie flashes forward and we see him playing with a band as an older man, and then he started closing down for the night in the 1990s.
Yes, Buddy Guy. Yes,
Buddy Guy. Okay. And then Stack and Mary are revealed to still be alive and come into the bar to pay him a little visit and sort of catch up, and also to offer him vampirism so that he stay alive forever and continue playing the blues. And I think I have a lot of things to say about this, but one, I thought it was very interesting that Sammy is like, I think I've seen enough of this world and I'm ready. He's had his experience going through the 20th century as a black man and just a human, and he's old and it's like, I'm good. Thank you. But I think this is just all a great button for the film, and it adds to the ambiguity around Remick's offer because, like, I don't know, Stack and Mary both seem to be doing all right, and they don't seem to think it would be like a curse to Sammy to turn him into a vampire as well. So maybe they had a decent fucking experience with it, I guess. And I also like that they both end up surviving because it's not like they chose this path or anything. It was very much forced upon both of them. They didn't really deserve it. They were both decent people from the looks of it. But
yeah.
I really liked this final interaction, and yeah, that it was like a positive one. It was just it's nice to see you again. It's been a long time, kind of thing.
Yeah, right. Like they weren't pulling up to kill him or anything like that.
Mhm.
It was just kind of like, yeah, how was your life kind of deal.
Mhm.
Did you have a good life? Did you like the things that you
Yeah.
did with your 90 odd years on the planet?
Yeah.
Like, you know?
They like the fact that they bought all of his records. I like the funny note that it's like, I don't really like the electric stuff as much. The old stuff was better because he's like 100 years old. Of course, he would say that.
Yeah, right. Well, and I like this scene too because yeah, it's kind of got this interview with a vampire vibes, where it's just like, yeah, they've been around for like 100 years, and here they are coming back to someone that they knew at the start of it, and just kind of reconnecting. I thought it was really cool, and and I agree with Sammy, man. Like, I don't think I would want to be an old vampire. I think I'd want to be turned into a vampire in my like the middle of my life, like 30s to 40s. That I feel like that's a good little sweet spot. Don't turn into a vampire before you're 18 or like when you're past 60. I don't think it's worth it at that point.
Yeah. No, like prime adulthood is what you want. That's it.
Like there's this I might have mentioned it before on this podcast, but there's this funny bit in What We Do in the Shadows, which is a great comedy vampire show. And there's this one vampire who's literally a baby. One of the vampires like, why did you turn him into a vampire? He's like, I thought it'd be really funny. And now that baby is stuck as a baby for their entire vampirehood.
Oh no.
Oh, that's what just made me think of that. But yeah. great epilogue. Really
Mhm.
ties the whole movie together.
Yeah. I chose not to look up what the post credit scene is because I'll see it when I go see this movie again, which I plan to do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll talk about it on a future episode. But any final thoughts on Sinners?
No, I don't think so. If you haven't seen it already, what are you doing? What are you doing with your
Yeah.
life?
Yeah, you shouldn't have listened this far.
You should have paused a while ago. But yeah, could not recommend this movie enough.
Yeah, same here. It's amazing. I loved it. I'm gonna go see it again very soon. But with that, let's transition into some other stuff. Niles, what else have you been watching recently?
So we have I don't know if you all know this, but Dylan and I every year we like to do a Star Wars episode for May the 4th, which is going to come out pretty soon. It's on the horizon. It's right around the corner.
We still gotta shoot it.
Yeah, we still got to shoot it and record it and everything. But it's going to be fun. We love doing them, so we hope you'll tune in. So I've been watching. This year we're doing the Star Wars sequels. We're talking about those 3 movies, episode 7, 8, and 9. So I watched those. Got some thoughts this time around. Got even more thoughts for this conversation. So that'll be fun. Hope you all tune into that. But it's been nice going down on a walk down memory lane of like, oh wow, episode 9 came out 6 years ago. That's crazy to think about.
Episode 7 came out a decade ago. That's insane.
Oh my god, I feel so old. Speaking of feeling old, RuPaul's Drag Race season 17 it just came to a close last week. Congratulations to Anya Nerve, who was the winner. That is her drag name. I love it. Anya Nerve. It's so good.
That's great.
But yeah, it was a fun season. Lots of great performances throughout, and yeah, looking forward to season 18 and to infinity until RuPaul can't stand anymore.
Yeah.
And because we watched Invincible season 3, that was our last episode. I finally went and watched the Adam Eve special.
Fucking finally. God damn.
And man, it is so good. Oh, it's beautiful. Every bit of it is so fun. So
You see why I get annoyed at the shows like somewhat lackluster fight stuff for Adam Eve now after that special, though?
Yes, yeah. I do get it, because yeah, she's so creative with that whole fight sequence with her sisters on the bridge. Like, it's just fluid. She uses her imagination. And yeah, I think it just added a lot to her character too. I would recommend that special as well. Definitely watch some other things, but I can't remember them. So the last thing I'll say is I've been playing a lot of Civ 7. So Sid Meier's Civ 7. And the more I play it, the more I like it. And the more I think it's better than the last one. Still not over the moon with it, but I kind of like these games. So I'm going to keep playing it until I'm thoroughly bored with it. How about you, Dylan? What have you been up to lately?
Continuing on with Dragon Age the Veilguard, I had some company in town recently, so I haven't been doing as much. But yeah, I'm getting towards the end of that game. I can feel the end approaching. So it's been a really fun ride. I still wish like it wasn't quite as jokey all the time as it is, but whatever, it's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, and then continuing to read Michael Crichton's Pirate Latitudes. Very enjoyable, brisk pirate adventure book about privateers. I'm liking it a lot. And then also this weekend, I started The Pit. I've seen the first 4 episodes of it, and it's awesome. It's an emergency room show, but structurally, every episode is just 1 hour of the same shift in a day.
Ooh.
So it's very intense. And, you know, like in a lot of medical dramas, like not grew up, but like in high school and college, I watched House. Great show. Love House. But every House was like case of the week, you know, because it's a Sherlock Holmes adaptation. Every episode, they have a patient, and it's about solving that patient's crisis. In the pit, it's like, well, they're in the ER, so they have 12 different patients at a time, and they're coming in and out. Some of them are dying, and it's just about them like, this person died. We need their bed. We have a waiting room full of people, so get them out of here. Let's get the next person in there. And then in between, the doctors are having like crises about what's going on because it's incredibly traumatic.
Yeah.
It's a very good show. My Twitter timeline was just like buzzing about it every single week while the season was coming out. It just ended, I think, 2 weeks ago. So I was like, I got to get on this, and I'm glad I did. Also,
Sounds like
the
fun.
last season, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a stressful watch, but it's great. And then, lastly, The Last of Us is back. So I've watched the first 2 episodes of the new season. The thing that people know from the second game has happened.
Wow, that early! Oh my gosh.
Well, it happens very early. That's part of the drama of the story.
Right. I never played the games.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to, but I know when that.
I know that.
Yeah. Beat. I know which beat you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll save the spoiler because I don't know in our audience if people are caught up on the show, and a lot of our audience doesn't play video games, I think. So like it's funny because like I've known about this for 5 years, this thing. But my family didn't know about it.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Blindsided.
But yeah, I'm sure we'll do an episode on this season when it's done, but it's very good so far. It's a good show. So.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna watch it very soon.
Yeah, but that is gonna do it for us this week.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate you tuning in and joining us on this rambling conversation that we had a lot of fun recording. We hope you had fun listening to.
Yeah. Next episode, I believe, will be the Thunderbolts, which will be a lot of fun. The early social media reactions, which I always take with a fat grain of salt, but they all seem pretty positive. So maybe this is a good one. Maybe Marvel's back.
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot in other stuff. I watched the Star Wars sequels too. Fucking obviously.
I'd hope so.
Yeah. So no, I'm excited for this conversation because like we've reviewed a lot of Star Wars stuff over the years, and there have been like hints of what we think about the sequels scattered throughout. I've made some videos about episodes 7 and 8. But I think it's going to be a really dope conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna I might need to take a couple days off work to get the video done. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Let's see. Will our next episode be out by then or before then? Our next episode. By the time you see us again here, that video will be out. So.
Yay!
So stay tuned for that. That's on the second channel, Play Pause Rewind videos, and we'll see you guys back here in 2 weeks for the Thunderbolts. A little bit sooner for Rewind. Until then, though, Niles, where can people find you online?
You can follow me on Instagram at NilesGotNoStyles. What about you, Dylan? Where can people follow you online?
On Instagram at DylanD1026, on Twitter at D-Day Movies, on YouTube at D-Day Movies, and you can find both of us here on YouTube and your podcast platform of choice at Play Pause Rewind, as well as our second YouTube channel, which we just mentioned, Play Pause Rewind Videos. If you're interested in our thoughts on a lot of Star Wars stuff, we have 4 hours of rewinds talking about the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy available for your viewing pleasure if you want to get caught up before you get to the sequel video. I don't know. I'm kind of excited. It feels like we're finished. Like this video is the conclusion of a massive 3-year project at this point. Like we will have, talked about the entire episode saga of Star Wars at this point.
We'll have talked about all the Skywalker movies, and then next year we're gonna have to figure out which other Star Wars movies to talk about.
Yeah,
I guess there's not too many others. So,
well, we'll have to decide. It's like, do we continue this project and do like Rogue One and then do Solo the year after that, or do we do something else. We want to do more rewinds on other things too. It's just the reality of this show is that we have jobs.
Yeah.
This
This doesn't earn us income just yet.
Nah.
That's all right.
But thank you all so much for watching and listening. We really appreciate it. This is always very fun. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Goodbye.
Bye.